Connor Bedard was considered the best prospect to enter the draft since McDavid in 2015, but after what was an overall pretty sick rookie season, he's definitely slowed down this year. It's hard to explain sometimes when watching hockey because it moves so fast, but there's a certain X factor that you can feel when a guy has the puck. McDavid has it, McKinnon has it, John Scott had it at the All-Star game, beauty, and rookie Bedard had it, but current Bedard does not have it. Is it just being on a dud of a team, or are there some factors at play here that could explain what Bedard's future in the NHL looks like as a player and as a generational talent? When Bedard was drafted, his biggest trait was considered his shot. Seeing how low his goal totals are this year, on pace for just 19 goals in an 82-game season, his shot is still great, but it's being utilized less. Through 33 games this season, he has 80 shots, averaging 2.42 per game. Last year, as a rookie, he was putting up a little over 3 shots per game. What's interesting is this seems to be related to a scoring slump and maybe a lack of confidence month to month. His shots per game has gone down progressively to the point where he can go multiple games in a row without shooting once. He's known to be a bit of a stat nerd about other sports, and he's likely aware that his wrist shot is shooting at 5% on the season, which is terrible. He has one of the best wrist shots in hockey by looks, accuracy, placement, and strength, but it's going in at the same rate as Mikael Backlund or Jesse Puljujarvi. Clearly the shot still works. It's a scoring slump that we're also seeing from David Pastrnak, who has the same shot percent on his wrist shot. But a guy like Pastrnak can score in a couple different ways. He's a goal scorer. Bedard, on the other hand, is a sniper. There is a difference. Where a guy like Matthews might crash the net for a rebound, hunt out open lanes, or just pepper a goalie until the puck goes in, Bedard likes his shot, but values making a play over taking that shot. He's not trying to force it if it isn't falling, which is usually a good trait, but a noticeable problem is that he just isn't in a position to score a lot of the time. At 5v5 this season, he has just 13 high danger scoring chances. Is that a lot? No, that's 312th in the NHL, tied with Damon Severson and one behind Tyler Mott, his favorite player. He gets a one-on-one with a goalie who sees the pass coming. Bedard looks at the goalie once before passing and never tries to make a move. You would hope that his skill would come into play there, and you would hope that he would use some of his Bedard magic and maybe deke to the backhand, take a shot, or fake a shot, but ultimately just settles on the pass. Watching someone like Connor McMichael, who has found a new level to his goal scoring this season and is 5th in the NHL in 5v5 high danger chances, being able to access his slot and get rebounds is one of the most productive ways of scoring in a hockey game. He has more goals in high danger areas than Bedard has total. This points to an issue I've noticed in his shot creation overall, but his playmaking is actually still quite good. It's taken over as Bedard's main strength on the ice. He leads the team in 5v5 high danger passes, but he's still nowhere near the top of the league. Bedard is averaging 2.1 per game, whereas a known dangerous playmaker like Panarin is averaging 3.6. This is where it might feel a little unfair for Connor Bedard. It's his second year in the NHL, but he's still the second youngest player in the league, and he's leading the team in a lot of categories. Comparing him to someone like Panarin or McDavid is arguably unfair right now. But when it comes to the power play, he might be near them in terms of production. He sits 9th in the NHL in power play points, which is crazy considering this is his first unit power play. We're seeing his talent fully play out in glimpses on the power play. It's a 5-on-3 and he feels comfortable walking in, faking his shot twice before passing for the one-timer. He loves shooting a pass across the slot for a backdoor tap-in and has been more successful recently. Bertuzzi has been planted on the far post and Bedard's shot acts as a fake for the pass. Goalies have to respect Bedard's shot, which means that if there's a lane for the pass, the goalie can't really do anything. Paired with the fact that Bedard loves to do the no-look passes, which is just devious, if he has time and space, he is a threat on the ice at all times. More ice on the power play means that Bedard can really show off what he's capable of, and a recurring trend here is that Bedard is highly skilled, but doesn't have the line mates to help him out. His stick handling and possession is incredible. He uses fakes to enter the zone, and he's very cognizant of gaining the blue line and holding it. He knows to look for stretch options and knows when to just take it himself. He averages more chances off the rush this year than off the cycle, and part of that is due to the blender of lines that Bedard has been in. Not being able to generate any chemistry with any given line for an extended time, it's easier for Bedard to get a chance in a 2-on-2 situation where he can generate some magic before dishing to a teammate or taking the shot himself. When forechecking, he's relying on teammates to find him. He's getting open, but he just isn't being given the puck. Mind you, he's 5'10", 185 pounds, and he's only 19 years old, so he's not going to be the one who's forechecking and taking the puck away. His role in the offensive zone is to be more of a trigger man. A stat that's tracked from Corey Schneider from the All 3 Zones project is carried zone entries per 60. It tracks how often you take the puck into the offensive zone. Last season, Bedard was first on the Blackhawks with 18.66 per 60 minutes of ice time. This year, he's third on the Blackhawks with 14.47 per 60, noticeably less than last season. Part of this might actually be due to his slower skating. He was in the 75th percentile last year in top speed, 74th in 20-mile-per-hour bursts despite missing 14 games. This season he's significantly slower and his top speed is a full mile per hour less than last year. I have no idea why he's skating this slow this season. He actually mentioned that speed was one of the main focuses this offseason, and yet he's slower.
Yeah, I think for me a lot of speed and stuff, and that was in the gym and then on the ice, just trying to put myself in as much of game situations as I can. So
that comes into a season with numbers in mind of what your goals are, or do you just kind of like see how things play out?
Yeah, I mean, I'd never tell you, but
a lot of the conversation could come down to his line mates and who he's playing with. Sometimes you fly a little faster when you're gunning with someone or when you're darting for a pass. Playing with Pat Maroon and Nick Foligno could be slowing him down. Not sure if there's any science behind that. Honestly, it's just a guess. But you would imagine someone who trains as hard as Bedard does, focusing on speed over the offseason and having quads like that, he wouldn't be this slow. Speaking of things that Bedard could improve upon, his defensive coverage is just not good. As a rookie, you're given a bit of a pass when it comes to this, especially on a team like Chicago with some genuinely putrid defensive options. It's year number 2 though, and if you're the franchise center, you need to pick up some of the slack. You trust your defenseman here, but if you're the center and Mangiapane is one of the quicker forwards in the sport, you have to be able to anticipate and offer help coverage. No one around, Bedard checks and yeah, no one's coming back there, Connor. Go cover the front of the net. Here, Bedard's covering the middle of the ice and lets the pass go through. It's a great pass, so it's hard to blame Bedard, and you would hope Murphy would be in a bit more of a useful spot, but that is an example where Bedard could turn it north quickly if he managed to get the interception. Sometimes I think it might be his defensive IQ and that he wants to cheat offensively. That isn't the end of the world though, as along the ice covered when talking about Nathan MacKinnon, if your guy is skilled enough, having him cheat in his own zone might be worth it if the chance is better going the other way. If it was a 50-50, would you trade a Bedard 2-on-1 in exchange for an Engvall breakaway? That's up to the coach to decide. Random thing I noticed that you probably could assume, but Bedard loves tying up sticks before he plays the body. It's his go-to on defense. Something that plays into his poor defensive metrics are just how terrible he is at faceoffs. 31.1%. Out of the 148 centers who have taken 100 faceoffs this season, he is dead last in the NHL by 3%. It's just, he shouldn't be taking them. So what's wrong with Bedard and how do we fix it? He isn't getting to the right areas on the ice. This is something that can be fixed with better line mates, absolutely, but it also is up to him to an extent. Getting into a battle for positioning instead of floating around the perimeter could help open up lanes and could be how Chicago feels comfortable reuniting Bedard with Teravainen, who's arguably the best passer on the team and a player that he actually had success with early on in the season. Issue number 2, his defense is really bad. This comes with time, I guess, but it also comes with the right coach instilling the right values. Mishkov had major questions about his defensive game coming out of juniors, but he quickly solved them under Tortorella in the NHL. He's also a winger, so his defensive workload isn't as high as his center, who has to cover the middle of the ice. And that is where the conversation starts to turn, where maybe Bedard would be more comfortable playing on the wing right now. That's accentuated in issue number 3, where we see that his face-offs are just not there. Work on them. This is a pretty niche skill that I don't understand enough to really give advice, but Derek Ryan is 5'10", 185 pounds. You have the exact same dimensions as him, and he wins 62% of his face-offs. You win 31% of your face-offs. Surely you offer him a spot in the next Lululemon commercial in exchange for face-off advice in the offseason.
if I make this shot, I'll join Lululemon as their newest ambassador.
Issue number 4, he's not shooting enough. Shoot more and trust the shot more. His issue reminds me of Jack Hughes when he came in. He couldn't score despite the chances he was generating, and people thought he was a bit of a bust from the outside. He kept on shooting, and as his shot improved and the situations he was in improved, he scored a lot more, getting 43 goals. Bedard has that shot, and there's situations where his mojo is clearly flowing and he's ripping it, and he's a threat. Similar to Elias Pettersson in Vancouver as well, the shot is a threat. Sometimes you just gotta rip it no matter how prepared the defense is. I think the best option for Bedard here is to play wing for the rest of the season. The Blackhawks are weak down the middle, but switching Bedard and Foligno in the lines is an immediate way to keep the talent together and just getting a better face-off guy at the dot. Defensive expectation is a lot lower, just ask Mishkov, and it will give him a chance to focus on generating as much as possible on offense as a priority. The goal is to get the mojo back. If I were to describe his player type, it's a high IQ, shifty, sniper playmaker, power play specialist. A player comparison for this might be a Patrick Kane or a Nikita Kucherov, undersized, skilled, offense-first players who have won an MVP. Notice how they're both wingers though. There aren't many number one centers in the NHL who profile like Bedard, but there are a lot of wingers. Bedard is not a goal scorer. He is a sniper and a playmaker. When he has time and space, he's among the best in the game at creating a chance, but he needs to get out of his own head. His defense is so bad right now that I think the number one center role is maybe too much pressure for him to really show what he's capable of. I could see him being a 50-60 goal guy, 130 point guy in the future, and he could end up looking a lot like a modern day Kucherov with a better shot. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. We made another one on Macklin Celebrini and we talked about how great he's been. Since then, he's been a little bit better too, so you should check it out and see why he's playing so well. Thank you.